Nice. Do we have to? No? Okay. Yay! Okay. From national parks to theme parks, a travel experience. I'm Sheree.
And I'm Cheyenne. And let's go to the park. Today's park that we're going to talk about is Yellowstone National Park.
My favorite.
Yay, we're here. We're so excited. Yellowstone is the first national park. It's the first national park that we went to together, like a big trip.
Yep.
And it's our first video together. So we're really excited to share our adventures with you all.
So excited. Just a disclaimer, this is our first video, so we're still learning. Feel free to let us know if you can't hear us or if we need to work on anything on our end, but I am confident that we will get this figured out eventually. But we are so excited to be here and so excited to grow and hopefully inspire you all to travel and go to the parks and just get out there and live life.
Absolutely. Okay, so I made some trivia for Sheree. She's not excited about it.
She's very confident that I'm going to do well, but
you can do it. Don't look at the computer.
I've not looked at it. She got it all colored out.
All right, the first one's really easy.
Don't say that. Now I'm pressured to get it right.
Okay. Yellowstone. Okay, true or false?
Oh, no.
Yellowstone was the first national park.
True. Okay.
March 1st, 1972. No. What? March 1st, 19-something-2.
Well, how am I supposed to answer that?
I don't know. Whatever.
Skip.
It was March 1st, 19-something. Okay, true or false? The park sits on top of an active volcano.
Oh, true.
True. See,
Okay.
These are easy.
Whew.
Okay, this one's a little harder though. Old Faithful erupts about 10 times a day.
Okay, so I'm going to have to get my math out because I know it's like, well, I just wrote this down. It's like every 90-ish minutes. Mm-hmm. So an hour and a half. So false, because it would have to be more than an hour and a half.
Woo! She did it. It erupts about 17 times a day.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now there's 3 multiple choice questions.
I am the teacher.
The average daily temperature, and this temperature was taken at the Mammoth Hot Springs, which is towards the northern portion of Yellowstone. The average daily temperature in January is 9 degrees, 18 degrees, or 36 degrees.
9 degrees.
9 degrees.
Yes!
You're doing it.
Oh,
You're
good.
doing it.
Okay.
All right, next one. The average temperature in July.
Okay.
70 degrees, 80 degrees, or 90 degrees.
July. 70.
Close. It's 80.
Oh, okay.
It's 80.
Well, okay. We went in late June, so
Right.
it didn't feel that hot, but no, that's July. Okay.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
Because this one's fun. There have been 153 deaths in Yellowstone National Park. 153. Which of the following is the most deadly? The thermal features, the lakes, or the bears?
Ooh, okay. I don't think it's the lakes. So either the thermal features or the bears. A bear, well, no, that wasn't in Yellowstone. I knew I'd say that. Let's see. Because I love the bears. Thermal features.
You're wrong.
It's the bears.
No, it's the lake.
It's the lake. Oh my gosh. I thought for sure I would mark that one out.
No, okay, so bears have caused 8 deaths.
Okay.
The thermal features are at 22.
Wow.
And Yellowstone Lake has had 123 drownings.
Wow.
Is that crazy? So
that is crazy.
I like lakes, but I'm not going to be swimming in that lake.
Yeah.
Which happens to be one of the largest high elevation lakes in the U.S. I don't really know what that means though, other than it's a big lake really high up.
I'm going to have to look into that. That really surprises me.
Yeah, that's
Really?
a lot. That's a lot.
Okay, I'm interested to look that up. Okay, so now we just have some national park numbers. So just some different information about the park that you may or may not be interested in, but we just love little things like this. So hopefully someone will enjoy it. So there are 11 visitor centers, museums, and contact stations. We always love going to the visitor centers because one of our favorite things to do is talk to the rangers. Even if we've done hours of research, we love to talk to the rangers and just get advice on what to do. Cheyenne actually taught me this. So she always goes in and goes to the ranger and says, what should we do today? Even if we have a huge itinerary of things to do. We still like to ask because they are there day in and day out, and they just know all the things about the park. And they know tips and tricks that you're not going to find on the internet, and just different things that you can see and do in the park that you just may not find. So love doing that. The museums, I've not been able to go into any of the museums in Yellowstone yet. Have you?
Nope.
Okay. And then contact stations, which I'm going to let her tell you about the contact stations because this was a cool thing that she read about today.
So you can still go to Yellowstone in the winter, but not a lot of the buildings are open because they're under feet of snow. And so one of the things that they have is a contact station. It's where there is someone or a way to contact a ranger, and they are in warming huts. So you can go in on a really cold day and just hang around and warm up. Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because you can do, what's it called? It's not a jet ski because that's in the water. A snowmobile.
Yeah.
A snowmobile. You can snowmobile through Yellowstone. That's one of my bucket list items.
It is not on my bucket list, but hey, we'll probably be there together.
Probably.
So, next fun fact, there are 9 hotels and lodges within Yellowstone National Park with 2,000 plus hotel rooms and cabins, which really surprised me because I have planned several trips to Yellowstone and those rooms are booked pretty early in the year. So that's quite a few rooms to fill up early in the year. So that one kind of surprised me. And we have been lucky, I'll talk about this a little later, but we actually got to stay in one of the lodges in the park. So I'll tell you about that a little later. There are 12 campgrounds. A lot of those campgrounds, we looked at this on our first trip out, are first come, first serve. I don't know how many of those are first come, first serve, but that would be very up in the air for me. I don't know that I could ever do that.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to get there at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like, this one's mine.
Yeah, and still the chance of not getting one just scares me. There are 52 picnic areas, which we love to go to the picnic areas and eat lunch because you can just eat lunch by the coolest things, by Yellowstone Lake or by Old Faithful, just the coolest places that you can eat lunch. There's one marina, which I did not know, at Yellowstone Lake. There are 290 waterfalls. I love waterfalls. How many did we go to in the park? I can only think of one on our first trip. Firehole or Fire Falls. But and then there are 1,000 miles of hiking trails. Also, and this is probably one of my favorite things, or my favorite thing about Yellowstone National Park, is there are 67 species of mammals. And that's what I love about Yellowstone, and Blake does too. No matter when you go, like, you know you are going to see something. Whether it be a grizzly bear or a black bear, pronghorn, wolves, coyotes, a fox, I mean, just an elk. I could go on and on. You can almost guarantee that you are going to see some type of wildlife every time you go to Yellowstone. So that's something that I really love about that park.
So on our trip, who all went? So Sheree and her husband Blake, myself and my husband Tyler, our little girl Evie. She had just turned a year old at that point. She was 1 year, 1 month, and 1 week old.
Oh.
When we went. And then my mom and dad went. Michelle and Scott, they tend to travel with us a lot because when I want to do something a little bit more adventurous, I can say, here Mom, take Evie. And we go running after waterfalls, and it's fantastic. So we went June 18th through the 21st of 2020. So we all know what happened in 2020. We said, do you know how cheap plane tickets are right now? Let's go to Yellowstone. And
That's
so,
what she said.
yeah. And then a month later, we were like on a plane to Yellowstone. So even though it was in mid-June, mid to late June, we still wore jackets and were chilly. I've got a picture of Evie touching snow in shady spots of Yellowstone because it's still cold in June.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like is a little fun fact is you should definitely wear layers. We've been in June and September, but both times that was true. Like wear layers. We would wear pants, but then like a t-shirt and a flannel, just things that you can take off and put back on easily because you just never really know what the temp will be and it changes so much throughout the day. So how we got there, like she said, she at random said flights are so cheap, let's go to Yellowstone, and we're crazy enough to be like, okay, let's go. So we flew mid-pandemic. It wasn't too crazy. We had to wear a mask, but there wasn't anything else that was a big. Oh, we had to have our temperatures taken.
When we landed in Bozeman, they took our temperatures.
I was so nervous. So we flew from Nashville to Bozeman, Montana, and that is going to be the airport you want to fly into to be closest to the park. And it is one of my favorite airports ever. It's just beautiful. You can sit in rocking chairs and just look out over the mountains while you're waiting on your flight. It's truthfully like you're walking into like a log cabin, and it's just gorgeous. It's so nice. So that's one of my favorite airports, and it's not too big, so you don't have to rush around or get lost or anything like that. This was our trip to Yellowstone together that we're talking about, but Blake and I have been since that trip in September of last year, but we just went for a day. So, but we would all like to go back.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Where we stayed, so that trip we stayed in 2 different places, so we split it up. We only stayed 3 nights. So the first 2 nights we stayed in Island Park, Idaho, in an Airbnb cabin on the lake. It was beautiful. Of course, you're not going to spend much time there because you're out exploring. But it was absolutely gorgeous, and I can link that in our blog coming up. And then we stayed 2 nights there, and then the last night we stayed in an Airbnb cabin outside Bozeman, just so we would be close to the airport for the next day. So both of those were great. So now we're going to talk about our top spots at or around the park. And let me tell you, did we stick with 5?
We stuck with 5.
So 5 is hard to stick to because there are so many things to see in Yellowstone. I don't know how many days it would take to get bored there or to see everything in Yellowstone.
I don't know.
Never.
I think I could stay there every night for a year and still see something new.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are our top 5, but there's lots more to do that I will share in our vlog. So the first one, and this one ties with something else, well, with number 2 for my favorite, is Grand Prismatic Springs, and it is just beautiful. So we went there on our first day, and we went in the evening, and we stayed just ground level with the spring. And while it was beautiful, it was very steamy, and you couldn't see all the colors. So we came back the next day earlier in the morning, and that is the suggested time, like midday on a sunny day. And we hiked to the overlook. So it is a 1/6 of a mile hike that climbs 100 feet, or 105 feet, I'm sorry. That might not sound like a lot, but we were huffing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's half a mile to walk.
Yeah.
100 feet elevation.
Yeah. So, but well worth it. So we hiked up to the top, and you start that hike at Fairy Falls Trailhead. And you walk up to the top, and there's a beautiful overlook where you can see Grand Prismatic and see all the different colors that you're going to see in Grand Prismatic. It's just a beautiful overlook, and I highly recommend it. So just a fun fact about Grand Prismatic, it is the largest hot spring in the United States, and it's the 3rd largest hot spring in the world. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
We loved it.
Yeah, we got up to the top, and we wanted to get a picture of the 4 of us, us and our husbands. And so we asked someone to take our picture, and then found out they were from Oak Ridge,
Yeah.
which is 20 minutes from where we're sitting right now. So it was really strange to be across the country and run into someone that was next door to us.
It's a small world. That happens to me all the time. I've seen people in the most random places.
Yeah, it's crazy. So one of my top spots was the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. It looks like a canyon, and it's grand, and it's in Yellowstone.
It is. Named it accurately.
Yeah, got it. So there's a couple different places where you can see the waterfall from. There's an Upper Falls area and a Lower Falls area. Those were closed when we went for construction. So we went to Artist's Point, which is it's a 0.1 mile walk from the parking lot to get to the overlook, and it's from the South Rim Drive. And so from Artist's Point, they've got a little bench you can sit on, and it's framed by trees, and you're looking straight out at the waterfall. You walk up a couple stairs to the very top, and you can see you're in the bend of the river. So it's like the waterfall's up here, the river comes down, and it curves around you kind of and back down. And so the view is very interesting. And the coolest thing I thought was we got up there, and there was an older man sitting there with all of his art supplies out, and he was painting a picture of the waterfall from Artist's Point. So I thought that was like,
just one of those moments that you just will never forget. Just ties it all together. Yeah, it was really cool. I also love Artist's Point, so that's the one that Grand Prismatic would tie for first place for, because it's just stunning. It's so pretty, and the pictures look like a postcard that you just take with your iPhone. So number 3 on our top 5 list is Lamar Valley. So Lamar Valley is going to be for all the animal lovers. It's actually called, and I didn't know this until I was looking it up today, but it's called America's Serengeti, which is so accurate. I feel like that is an accurate description of Lamar Valley. So these are some of the things that you can see in Lamar Valley. Wolves, bison, pronghorn, badgers. I didn't know badgers. Yeah.
I want to see a badger.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
No, I don't.
In the car.
Aren't they real mean?
From the car.
Okay, from the car.
A grizzly bear will very bust us for a later episode. You're concerned about the badger, but it's fine.
It's fine.
Grizzly bears, bald eagles, osprey, deer, and coyotes. Also a fox too. I think we saw a fox right outside of Lamar Valley. But like I said,
a beautiful picture of that fox.
Yeah, you do. So that's not everything you can see in Lamar Valley. Obviously, if you are a wildlife lover, you know it's best to find them at dawn and at dusk. But really, all day long, you still have an opportunity. Just some friendly advice is to pack binoculars and a spotting scope, because we actually got to see some wolves in Lamar Valley one evening. And I got to take some pictures with my camera, but they're not the best quality. But
they're blurry.
They are,
but it was
they're there. Yeah,
we saw wolves
in the wild.
In the wild with our own eyeballs.
2 or 3, I can't remember how many.
I don't remember.
But anyways, so you definitely want to pack those to just get the best viewing experience that you can have. And Lamar Valley is actually 40 miles long, so you can just drive and drive and drive. And I think the perfect thing, and this is something we did on our last trip, was we just stopped and like set up camp for a few minutes. We got our camping chairs out, we got some snacks out, because you gotta have snacks. And we just kind of set up shop and just watched for a long time. And I think that's the perfect activity to do during the day. And when we go back, we've both, Blake and I both have agreed that we just want to spend hours just sitting out there and seeing what we can see. And it's a good place, or they have, I can't guarantee that it's all a good place, but they have nice spots to pull over, and like the kids could run around. Like it's a flat, pretty flat area. Yeah. They could run around and play right there, and that could entertain them for a little while.
So one of the, I think whenever you start looking at national parks and you see, oh, it's Yellowstone, the first thing everyone thinks of is Old Faithful, which is the big geyser that goes off every 90-ish minutes.
And it's in our picture.
And it's in our picture, the picture we posted today. That is of Old Faithful. So the eruptions last between 1.5 to 5 minutes. So you could wait an hour and a half and it could go off for like 90 seconds.
Still worth it.
But it's still worth it. It's the coolest thing. So it erupts every 90-ish minutes and it goes up to like 180 feet high, which is crazy. And at the vent, so where it comes out at, the water is 203 degrees.
Crazy.
So that's really hot.
Yeah.
The craziest thing to me, when we say that if you want to see wildlife, you go to Yellowstone, around Old Faithful, it's made of different boardwalks. There's a visitor center on one side, the lodge is on one side, there's like a souvenir shop, and there's like a little lunch place where we got food. So in the middle of all of this in a parking lot, on these boardwalks, people have seen bison and grizzly bear right there. So during the winter, when it gets cold, the bison will come around these hot springs to warm up. And then, unfortunately, some of our animals don't make it through winter, so they pass away. And so in the spring, when everything starts kind of thawing out, the bears come in and will eat whatever is left. So you can sit in your car, walk 30 feet to a boardwalk and run into a bison. Run into a bear eating a dead bison.
While a geyser is erupting.
While a geyser is erupting in the background.
Where else can you do this?
Right. And I talked about Old Faithful Lodge. It's the Old Faithful Snow Lodge. And on this trip, we didn't get to stay in the park, but on her second trip, they did.
Yeah, and it was absolutely beautiful. So everything was pretty much closed down still for COVID when we went the first time. But the second time, we got to stay there just one night. But it just totally, if there's a way to make the experience better, it did. It was just nice and convenient in the park to stay within the park, save you some drive time, which is crucial when you're in Yellowstone because it's so big. You do so much driving that it's nice just to have a convenient place to stop. And it was just beautiful inside. They had a restaurant that we ate at. It was delicious. I just loved it. I would highly recommend staying in the park, and we will definitely do that again. Oh, that's me. Okay, number 5, Mammoth Hot Springs. So this one, okay, of course it's beautiful, but it didn't really wow me as much until our second trip. So when we went the second time and things were open, it really opened my eyes to how wonderful of an area this is within the park. So at Mammoth Hot Springs, you can walk the boardwalk. It's a short walk to see the hot springs. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so hard to explain it, but it's like white and red and it looks like stacks of ice, really, is what it looks like to me. But it's really, really pretty and an easy walk if you are someone who struggles with that. They have a general store that we got to go in this last time and get an ice cream. That was fun. But one of the best parts, and you can see this, I'll have to share this picture when we share our pictures of Yellowstone, but you can see elk everywhere. So there was a bull elk, there were cows. I mean, it was just great. And he like walked, I mean, they don't care. You're in their home, you know. So he like walked right in front of people and like the rangers were getting them back. Obviously, you do need to stay a certain amount of feet away from the wildlife. But it was just awesome. You could hear them. Is it called bugling? I think. You could hear them doing that. It was just magical. It was really cool to see. And that's like another place almost guaranteed to see the elk. I can never guarantee it, but you know, high opportunity to see it there. And that's also another place to fill up your gas tank if you need that. There is a visitor center there called the Albright Visitor Center. And you can also tour historic Fort Yellowstone in this area. And there's also a lodge here too that I've added to my list that I want to stay at when we go back. It's a really convenient place right there in Mammoth Hot Springs. And just all the little things they have there. General store, like I said, the visitor center and things like that. So I definitely want to stay there next time.
Yeah, and Mammoth Hot Springs is near the north entrance.
I think so.
It's one of the first places that you get to in Yellowstone. So if you fly into Bozeman, you're going to come down and then kind of enter Yellowstone into that Mammoth Hot Springs. So if you have a long travel day, that would be a good place to stay.
It was.
Just fly into Bozeman and go to sleep at Mammoth Hot Springs. So, what was our favorite thing? Or what are we going to do next time? Or what did we learn after visiting? So the first thing on here, I've already talked about it.
She couldn't help herself.
I couldn't help myself. So there's just something about nature. Looking at it, smelling it, touching it, hearing it. And I am not a creative person. Okay, she's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Because she's lying.
I'm creative.
Yes! What you see has come out of her brain for the most part.
Okay, well, I'm a creative person, but I haven't, okay, we'll do it this way. I haven't found a good way to capture the way I feel in a national park.
I'll take that.
So I can't, take a breathtaking photograph on a really fancy camera. I can't do audio recordings and make it what is that? ASMR? ASMR.
Yes.
Like, I'm not that, I can't capture it. And so seeing an artist sitting on Artist Point making art out of nature, I talked to the person and I really wanted to buy the painting, but they wouldn't let me have it. But I think that's really cool to have a talent that you have for free, pretty much. Grab your paintbrushes and a piece of paper, go sit at a national park for a few hours, and then bring something home with you, a memory that you made from a national park, and be able to capture everything you have felt while you're sitting there. I just think that's cool.
You're right. I agree now. Yep. But you are creative. Okay, one of my favorite stories and my favorite moments was actually at a place, like I wouldn't think this place would make it into this spot, but it did. So we were walking around Norris Geyser Basin, and this is a pretty hefty boardwalk loop-ish. Yeah, it's a loop. I'm convincing myself. That you can walk around and just see all types of geysers and different things. Definitely worth it to stop and do, in my opinion. But this is what made it so cool.
It's so cool.
So we're walking along, and this was really when we first got there. So we hadn't been there too long to know, So we're walking around the boardwalk and we started to hear/feel this rumbling sound. So the best way I know to describe it, and I feel like it's pretty accurate, it's kind of like Jumanji, if you've watched the movie Jumanji. So when it rumbles and you hear the thundering, and we were like, what is that? Turns out it was a geyser that had just erupted. And Old Faithful is cool, don't get me wrong, but you can time it for the most part, hence the name Old Faithful. This steamboat geyser, you cannot necessarily time like that. You can't guarantee it's going to go off every 98 minutes. So it was such a cool opportunity. We start running because FOMO. We do not want to miss out.
Other people were running too.
Right. So are you running from something or what?
It was, I think, a female ranger. We ended up asking, what is that?
Yeah.
And she's like, it's Steamboat!
So not many things make me run, but Steamboat Geyser did. So we ran and it's just erupting and it's beautiful. And there was a rainbow shining, through the water and the steam, which we can also post a picture of. And it was just so cool because we got to hear it, we got to feel it, and we got to be some of the people, well, really the first people to see that specific eruption. So that was so cool. And so we get up there, and you were saying all the senses that you can experience at the park.
Yeah.
Taste is also one because it gets in your mouth. I mean, it's going everywhere. So that was so cool. Just to see something by chance and not calculated. So that was one of my favorite times or stories from the park. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And turns out when I was looking today that, what was it called? What did they call it?
A major eruption?
A major eruption. So they have a major eruption and a minor, and then the minor only goes off maybe a few minutes and the major goes off for many minutes. So by the time we ran up there and got to see it, it took a little bit. And so they had listed that on their website the date that we were there as a major eruption.
Which was so cool.
We were excited.
And okay, you're standing in the midst of this geyser.
Yeah.
You're getting water in your mouth, right? That water is from like inside the earth, okay? You don't know how old that water is. It is bubbling underneath the earth and erupts out at you. Like
we got to taste it.
Aren't you jealous? We got to taste the Earth's core. So it's just cool. It's just cool.
Just had to be there.
One of my other favorite things was we didn't spend too much time in Lamar Valley. One of our rookie mistakes that we learned was that you really need to plan where you're going to stay. So we stayed in West Yellowstone every night, and we really should have stayed a night in West, a night in East, a night in the South, because you spend a lot of time driving.
You do.
So we were out in Lamar Valley. We drove out to the end, turned around and drove back, and it started getting dark. And there were no other cars around, or there was one or two. And all of these bison just kind of ran out in front of our car and stopped in the road. And so they talk about bison jams. I'm like, well, that's cool. There's a mile worth of cars stopped because there's a bison in the road. But we were surrounded by bison. Yeah. And at that time, like I said, my daughter was a year and a month old. I had breastfed her for that first year. And our journey had ended, but right in front of us was this big old mama bison breastfeeding her little baby, and I teared up a little bit. That was just a really special moment. And then we see a car coming from the other side, and they come down the hill, and it was a park ranger, so they turned all their lights on, and all the bison went away, and we were like, oh, we could have just like honked our horn and they would have moved.
Slowly. They moved slowly. They really do not care.
Yeah.
Once again, we're in their home.
Yes, you were definitely in their home. So it was just a really cool experience to be kind of alone with all these bison. And they are not small. No. We were in a big Suburban and nervous that it was going to hit our vehicle and make it move. Yeah. I don't know how people on motorcycles go through the park.
Right, and several people have died from a bison.
Yeah. Either bison attacking them because you're getting in their space, or because it's dark. You have to drive slow at night because you don't know what's coming. And so people hitting the wildlife can be an issue too. Yeah,
that is true. Okay, another one of my favorite stories was actually at our Airbnb outside of the park, technically. Like I said, it was in Island Park, Idaho. So for some odd reason, I was the first one up. That never happens. But I was the first one up that morning, and I decided to go outside, and I was going to FaceTime my mom and dad and like show them the beautiful view, watch the sunrise. So I'm sitting out there. There was a bench. Oh, there was a bench overlooking a lake, and it was just had the mountain backdrop behind it. And so I'm sitting there, and it's silent, and I hear this elk bugling. And that was just such a special moment too, because it just felt like it was just me and him or her out there in the wild, and I didn't know where it was, how close or how far away, but that was just a really cool moment too that I'll never forget.
Yeah, I remember you coming back in and saying, well, I heard an elk. I was like, dang, I want to hear an elk.
Well, I thought it was a moose.
Oh, a moose.
I thought it was a moose at first.
I
had to Google.
we can pretend it's a moose.
It's an elk. But hey, I'll take it.
So on the next trip, I'm not going to say if I go back, because this is one of the places I'm going back.
Absolutely.
When I go back, there's a few different things that I want to do. One is I want to stay in the park, whether that's in one of the lodges or in one of the campgrounds. I want to stay in the park. And then I want to kind of do what you said, drive out to Lamar Valley, get the camp chairs out, eat breakfast, snack, and lunch, and then go about the day. And then Hayden Valley, that's kind of by a river. It's really pretty there too. So spend more time relaxing. Our trip was like a 3-day weekend trip. It was a whirlwind of a trip. Like I said, we stayed in the same place, and so we slept in the same place. So like the first night, we got back to our Airbnb, and it was like midnight, and we hadn't had dinner yet. So the guys are out there with flashlights, like lighting up the grill to make food. It was just all an experience. We learned a lot, so we saw lots, and I cannot wait to go back to Yellowstone.
That's kind of what you'll learn about us, though, even when we're not rushed. I mean, we just move quick. We just do. We just spend a lot of time exploring because I can rest when I'm at home. I mean, we vacation differently sometimes, you know. If you go to the beach or something like that, you might relax. But when we go to these national parks, we hit it hard. And I want to stay on the go and see what I can see from daylight to dark. And just take it all in, because you don't know when you're going to get to go back or if you're ever going to get to go back, really. So you have to take that time and just soak it all in and do everything that you can. So when I go back, because like she said, I will be going back, it is my favorite park for a reason. I didn't write anything down for this one, but it's because I just want to do it all again. I want to see what I can see. I would love to stay in some of the lodges or hotels again. I would love to see different wildlife or go into the stores or the museums and things like that. So there's still plenty left. Like we said, you could go 100 or 1,000 times and still see new things. So what I want to see when I go back, anything. I'll just take anything. But something cool, and I meant to say this, but I want to go back. So Lamar Valley, you said you want to spend some time in, and you want to either camp or the hotel. There's actually a couple campgrounds right outside Lamar Valley, or outside or in, I'm not sure, that I read about today. And so you could get up so early and go see from the campground, not have to drive far.
Yeah.
And see what you can see.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's definitely something. But her and Tyler have roughed it quite a few times in their tent. And your girl's almost 30, and I'm not trying to get in the tent. I'm not. So if we pull our camper out there one day, I will stay there. Otherwise, you'll find me at the hotel. But we're sleeping in the car, at least.
Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up our first episode. The blog post will be posted next Monday. And that is where you're going to find our full itinerary that we will post, that we actually did, what we actually accomplished while we were there and got to do. Yeah. We will have some other itinerary options as well, like my itinerary when we went for just one day. Her mom has been without us before too and has her own itinerary. So we'll just have several different options on there that you can use or tweak or whatever you want to do with those. There will be more facts about the park, pictures from our trip, just all kinds of cool things to see. So you don't want to miss out on our blog post. So that will be next Monday.
So we are on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Most of those are Let's Go to the Park with the number 2. So let's go to the park. And on there, we'll post teases for our next video, kind of like we did this one. We'll give out 2 different facts about the park and see if anyone can guess it. Yeah. No one guessed this week's.
No.
But that's okay.
That is.
Maybe one day, if they get it right, we'll give out a prize.
Oh, yeah.
That would be fun. Like a
Yellowstone sticker or something like
sticker.
that. Yeah, that would work.
That would be fun.
That would be cool.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Write that down.
We'll write that down. So you can find all the links. We'll post them in the video description. That way you can follow us on all the things.
Yeah. And then we also have a private Facebook group that you can join that we will also link below. And this is a place where you can share your own travel plans and say, hey, does this look good? Does anyone have any ideas? This is a place where you can help other people plan their trips, like I just said, because truly, once you've been there, you can really help a lot more than just the research. So that's a place for that. So you can join that if you would like to be a part of that.
Yeah, and we love to see pictures of other people's trips.
We do, yeah.
We have found we will make an itinerary. We'll post it on a big national park page, and the response every time is, "You can't do all that."
Yeah.
And every time we come back, and it's like, guess what? We did all that.
Yeah, they burst my bubble.
We did
but
all
then
that.
I'm like, no, I did it.
So we like to kind of overreach and overdo. But I want to see all your trip pictures and your itineraries all on our group Facebook page. And then we hope that you will join us for our next video, which will be every other Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come on and do a live every other Monday, so we can just talk about more trips. So in 2 weeks, we'll cover another park. I'm not going to say it. It's not a national park, and it's not a theme park. So it is a state park. One of the coolest state parks. And so we'll be covering that one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. Like, you know, if you've been following along, it won't just be national parks. It might be a state park. It might be a theme park. So there's all kinds of information going to be shared. So that in the Facebook group too, if you want to talk about your next Disney trip or a state park trip, you're welcome to post that there as well. And this has been so much fun. I'm so excited about the next one. So excited. We started out nervous, but we've made it through and had a blast. And hopefully, at some point, we will be able to read the comments and questions or anything like that, and get back to you hopefully live one day. So that's a goal of ours too. So, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Okay. Until next time, we'll see you at the park.
I don't know how to end it.
Oh, here's my living room. Thank goodness it's clear.